well, as I said, we'll start the class and we would actually be covering control cost. Okay. So what is the speciality of monitoring and controlling processes group? Can anyone tell me? If you can just type it in the chat window. What is the key attribute of monitoring and controlling processes? Anyone? What is monitoring and controlling processes all about? No, not only control of project budget. See, that is related to cost management. What I was talking about is in general in monitoring and controlling process group. See, if you remember in PMP, there are 5 process groups: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. So monitoring and controlling processes talks about all the tracking and controlling the plan. Okay, it's about basically tracking and controlling the project and making sure that we are in alignment with the project plan. That means we have not deviated much from the project plan. That's the objective of any monitoring and controlling processes. So if you refer to the PMBOK chart, you will find that monitoring and controlling processes consists of basically tracking and controlling activities. It talks about tracking and controlling activities, and in this case we are going to track and control the cost. So our cost is defined in the cost management plan, and we would be tracking the cost as per the cost management plan. And in case of any deviations from the plan, we will take corrective as well as preventive action. So what is the difference between corrective and preventive action? Corrective action is after the problem has occurred. Any action you take after the problem has occurred is corrective action, and preventive action is to prevent the problem from occurring. Preventive action is basically to prevent the problem from occurring. For example, I take my car for regular servicing to the service station. That is what? That is a preventive action. But let's say my car breaks down on the highway or on the motorway, and I need to immediately call someone from the garage. That is what is my corrective action. So basically in monitoring and controlling processes, we take corrective as well as preventive action. We take corrective as well as preventive action. Okay. So moving ahead to the next slide. So as I said, like control cost comes in monitoring and controlling process group. So those of you who have PMBOK, you can refer this chart. You can refer this chart wherein it shows you where exactly control cost actually occurs. And if you see in planning processes, there is process like plan cost management, cost estimating, and determine budget. So budget is determined in planning processes, and the budget is tracked as a part of control cost. The budget gets tracked as a part of control cost. Okay, so basically that is what is coming in monitoring and controlling processes. So I'm assuming that all of you are planning to go in for PMP certification exam, right? So basically you will have to remember this chart. From an exam perspective, you will have to go and remember and memorize this chart is what I would say at this moment. Okay. So moving ahead. So control cost is defined as the process of monitoring the status of the project to update the project cost and managing changes to the baseline. Okay. So any changes to the cost baseline is done through the control cost process. Now cost baseline is in form of a S curve. I don't know if you know this, but basically cost baseline is nothing but the budget. Basically it's basically the budget what you have for the project. It's nothing but the budget which gets represented graphically, So cost baseline is something which comes on as a part of the budget. So let me open up a whiteboard to first explain what is a cost baseline, and then I will show you how exactly it is tracked. Okay, so give me a minute and I'll just show you a cost baseline. Yeah, so this is an example of a cost baseline, the diagram which is coming on your screen. Now if you see, when I'm doing the planning, I will plot the project time on the x-axis I will plot the project time or the duration on the x-axis. My cumulative cost will come on y-axis. My cumulative cost is going to come on y-axis, and this is my cost baseline. If you see, this is my cost baseline, and at the tip, at the end of the project, my cost baseline, the figure which will be represented, it's called as a budget at completion, and its short form is BAC. It's called as budget at completion. Okay, so that's my BAC at the end of the project. Okay, so my cost baseline is also called as budget at completion. It will give me the total amount of funds which are required for the project. It will give me the total amount of funds which are required for the project to run the show. Okay, so that is my cost baseline. Remember that on x-axis it is the project duration or time, and on y-axis it is the cumulative cost. It is the cumulative cost. So at any point of time I want to know how much is the budget for my project or how much is the fund which is required. I will draw a vertical line from the x-axis and basically I will plot it here, and this will tell me that this is the total money which I require at the end of a particular day. So let's say I want to find out how much is the money required on day 40th of the project. How much is the fund or money required on day 40th of the project? So at day 40, I will plot a vertical line. Okay, I will plot a vertical line, and this is what is going to give me the total fund required on the day 40th. This is what is the money which is required on day 40th of the project. So if it's a 100-day project, my budget at completion at end of 100 day would be the total money which I would be needing. So basically this cost baseline is prepared when I am doing the planning, but in monitoring and controlling I am tracking the actual costs. In monitoring and controlling I am going to track the actual cost. So if my actual costs are over the budget, that means I have overspent already. Ideally, at the end of the project, my actual cost line and the cost baseline should actually coincide. They should actually coincide, because that means that I have spent what I have been given by the sponsor. Okay, so that is what is a cost baseline. It's represented in form of a S curve. Why S? Because it's in the letter alphabet S. Okay, it's in the shape of an alphabet S. So that's why it's called as a S curve. That's why the definition of that is called as a S curve or a cost baseline. That's how it is called as. Okay, so in the process, if you see, every process in PMBOK has got three things: input, output, and tools and techniques. Input, output, and tools and techniques. So inputs are what are the key things for this process to be triggered. Output is what is the output of this process, and tools and techniques are what basically are the tools and techniques required for this. Okay, what are the tools and techniques required for this process to be completed? Okay, so input, output, and tools and techniques. Now since this is a part of monitoring and controlling processes, basically the input would be your project management plan and project funding requirements. Okay, project management plan, project funding requirement, work performance data. Can anyone tell me what is work performance data? What exactly is work performance data? Any idea? Any thoughts? Yeah, work performance data. No, it's not productivity performance. It is not productivity performance. Any thoughts? What is work performance data? Anyone else? Or Aristotle, you can also try it again. Any thoughts? Work performance data. I think that name. No, it's not productivity. No, it's absolutely not productivity. Not information on actual work to be done. To be very honest, work performance data is nothing but the raw data. The raw data about the project. The raw data about the project is the work performance data. Okay, so that is basically the raw data. For example, I telling my team members to fill in timesheet before going home. That is work performance data. That is work performance data. Okay, then organization process asset. That's also an input. What is an organization process asset? Can anyone tell me? What is an OPA or an organization process asset? Yeah, any thoughts? OPA? Yeah, anyone? Basically OPA is nothing but your organization policy, templates, etc. Okay, so for example, quality manual of your company, etc. Okay, so basically that is what is OPA. That is what is OPA. Okay, organization process assets, any quality manual, basically any templates, any estimation techniques which is specific to the organization, that is what is OPA. That is what is organization process assets. Okay, that is what is organization process assets. Tools and techniques are your earned value management, forecasting techniques, basically predicting how we are performing against the cost baseline. To complete performance index, performance reviews, project management software and reserve analysis. Output is your work performance information, cost information, change request, project management plan update, project document update, and OPA updates or organization process asset updates. Okay, so these are the input, outputs, and tools and techniques. So basically, if you will see, raw data is coming in, and your information is coming out. So information is nothing but processing that data. Information is nothing but processing that data. So for example, my raw data could be that team members entering their expenses. My information would be that based on the expenses incurred, is the fund enough or not? Or do I need some more approvals? Or is the fund enough or not? Okay, so that is what is work performance information. Okay, so basically that all comes in as a part of control cost. All this comes in as a part of control costs. Okay, so control cost is process of basically monitoring the status of the project and basically updating and revising the project cost based on the information as it becomes available. Okay, let's move ahead. So as I said, project management plan, project funding requirement, work process data, and your basically organization process assets. These are the inputs. These are the key inputs of your control cost. These are the key inputs of your control cost process. Then moving on to tools and techniques. Tools and techniques, we'll be studying this, what is exactly earned value management all about. And there are some formulas which you'll have to remember. Okay, so we'll be studying this. Just give me a minute. And then basically we have other than earned value management, we have basically the outputs. Okay, now in earned value management, one of the first thing you need to remember is the planned value. How much is the amount of work which is planned? How much is the amount of work which is planned to be done? So that is what is planned value, and it can be calculated on a daily basis. It can be calculated on a daily basis. For example, let me take an example. Let's say I want to paint a room. Let's say I want to paint the 4 walls of a room. Okay. And let's say I take 8 days to complete this work. Let's say I take 8 days to complete this work to paint 4 sides. To paint 4 walls, I take 8 days. So let's say that at the end of day 2, what would be my planned value? Can anyone tell me? At the end of day 2, what is my planned value? Day 2 PV. What exactly will it be? I take 8 days to complete 4 walls. So what should be my day 2 planned value? On an average, if I go by an average work, 6. How 6? Day 2 I am asking, Riyaz. I take 8 days to complete 4 walls. Wall 1, wall 2, wall 3, wall 4. I take 8 days. So what is my planned value at the end of day 2? 1 side. Absolutely right. So my planned value at day 2 is equal to 1 side. Is it clear to everyone? Why is it 1 side? Because basically I am planning to take 8 days to complete the wall. I am taking 8 days to complete my entire room, which is of 4 walls. So my planned value at the end of day 2 is 1 side. Planned value at the end of day 4 is 2 sides, right? That is what is my planned value. So basically the amount of work which is planned, and basically you will convert this into a budget. At the end of day, you are going to convert it into a monetary unit. So that's why the definition says the authorized budget assigned to scheduled work. So what is my work which is scheduled, and what basically I'll convert it into the dollar value. I will convert it into a dollar value, and we'll see how we will convert it later on. Earned value, the amount of work actually done. The amount of work actually done or measured is what is earned value. For example, my planned value was that at the end of day 2 I will complete side 1, but in reality I have completed one side plus 50% of the other side, plus 50% of the other wall also. So that means I am ahead. I am ahead in the game because my planned value was one side to be completed, but in reality, since I completed wall 1 a little early, I also started painting the wall 2 of my bedroom. So basically I have completed 50% of wall 2 also, right? So that would be the earned value. That would be the earned value. I hope it is clear what is planned value, what is earned value. Actual cost is basically the cost which you have incurred in doing this painting job, and it will be coming from the actuals. So actual cost is nothing but the cost which you have incurred to basically carry out this painting exercise. So that cost incurred would be your actual cost. The cost which you have incurred to come up with this wall or to paint this wall is called as an actual cost. That is what is called as an actual cost. So the actual cost incurred to paint this is the cost which you have incurred. Is it clear? Is the definition clear between planned value, earned value and actual cost to everyone? I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, so moving ahead. Budget at completion, I already told you, it's the total budget available for this work. Okay, the total budget available for this work is basically the budget at completion, and it's the tip point of the S curve. It's the tip point of the S curve. So that is what is your budget at completion. So basically the sum of all the budgets established for the work to be performed. So many times in the PMP exam, you will get questions on this. You will get questions on earned value management. Basically, what is the planned value? What is the earned value? So they will ask you to do the calculations. They will also ask you to do calculations based on this planned value, earned value and actual cost. Okay. So let us try to take an example so that it will be clear. Okay. Let's also try to take it with an example so that it will be clear. And there are some additional terms also which you need to remember. There are some additional terms also which you will need to remember as a part of this. Okay, so but let's see some additional terms. We'll see this a little later. Cost variance, schedule variance, cost performance index, schedule performance index and variance at completion. So let's take up an example this. Oh, it's the same example which I have been talking about. Okay, let's take the example of a project to build 4 walls of a room. Each side is to take 1 day to build and it's estimated to cost $500 per side. The walls are planned to be completed one after the other, and this is the scenario at the end of day 3. This is the scenario at the end of day 3. I started with on day 1 with side 1 and I completed it. On day 2 I started with the second side, but I could only partially finish it. I actually finished side 2 on day 3, and day 3 I started also wall 3, but I finished partially wall 3 and I had done only 50%. Now based on this data, forget the question, can anyone tell me planned value at the end of day 3? What is the planned value at the end of day 3? Day 3, what should be the planned value for this problem? Yeah, any thoughts? Planned value. Yeah, anyone? Can you think what is the planned value at the end of day 3 based on what we discussed earlier? Any thoughts? You can tell me in terms of wall, forget the dollar figure for the time being. What is the planned value? If I go by the definition of planned value, what is planned value? The amount of work which is planned to be completed. So how much was planned to be completed at the end of day 3? Yeah, planned value at the end of day 3 is 3 sites, right? 3 sites I should have completed. This is my planned value. What is earned value at the end of day 3? Earned value, at the end of day 3? Yeah, how much I have actually completed. So earned value at the end of day 3 is equal to, I completed side 1 plus side 2 plus I completed only 50% of side 3. So it's basically 2.5. So my earned value is equal to 2.5. So my planned value was basically 3 and my earned value is only 2.5. My earned value is only 2.5. And what is the actual cost I have incurred till date? My actual cost is 500 plus 600 plus 300, which comes out to be equal to 1400, Now remember one thing, that all the three things have to be converted into the same unit. They have to be converted into the same unit. So planned value at the end of day 3 is 3 sides. So I will multiply it by 500 because 500 is the cost given to get basically 1500. Okay, to get basically 1500. And my earned value at the end of day 3 is basically equal to 2.5 into 500, which is $1250, and my actual cost is equal to $1,400. My actual cost is equal to $1,400. Is it clear how this calculation needs to be done? Is this clear how the calculation is done? So basically you'll have to bring them, all of them, into same unit. You'll have to bring all of them into same unit. Okay, you have to make sure that you bring all of these into same unit basically. Okay, so that is what is planned value, earned value and actual cost. Now coming back to the earlier slide, if you see, there is a formula for cost variance. Cost variance is earned value minus actual cost, right? Earned value minus actual cost is cost variance. So positive means under planned cost, negative means over planned cost. Negative means I am over budget. And positive means I am under budget. If my earned value is more than actual cost, that means I have earned more than the actual cost. That means basically I am basically profit. I am more in profit basically, right? I am basically underutilizing the budget. Basically, if my earned value is less than actual cost, that means I am over budget. I've actually overshot the budget. Similarly, schedule variance would be earned value minus planned value. That would be earned value minus planned value. Positive means I am ahead of schedule. Negative means I am behind schedule. Okay, so these are the formulas you will need to remember. Instead of minus, if you use the division sign, it gives you an index. So my CPI is EV upon AC. Exactly 1 is the ideal state. Greater than 1 means for every $1 spent, I am getting more than $1, right? If it is greater than 1, if my CPI is say 1.25, that means for every $1 spent, I am getting a return of $1.25. That is what my CPI is going to tell. Whereas if my CPI is 0.8 or 0.9, it means that for every dollar spent, I am getting a lesser amount in return. Okay, so that is what is EV upon AC. And if I use, instead of minus sign, a division sign for schedule variance, I get a schedule performance index. Which is EV upon PV. So greater than 1 means ahead of schedule, less than 1 means behind schedule. Greater than 1 means ahead of schedule, less than 1 means behind schedule. Exactly 1 means I am on track. Okay, and variance at completion is how much over or under budget I am. So original budget minus revised budget. Is my basically variance at completion. Ideally it should be 0, which means I am neutral. Positive means basically I am under planned cost, and negative means over planned cost. Okay, so these are the formulas you will need to remember. For basically earned value management. These are the formulas you would need to remember. So Now for this problem, for this particular problem, can you calculate the CPI and SPI? Just take a couple of minutes and calculate the CPI and SPI. CPI and SPI. So that either the client or the contractor, actually if you see as per PMBOK, anyone can raise a change request in the project. Anyone can raise a change request in the project. It's not just restricted to client or to the customer. It depends on the CCB or the change control board whether to accept the change request or to defer it or to reject it. But as per PMBOK, anyone can raise a change request on the project. Anyone can actually go about and raise a change request on the project. It really doesn't matter, like, okay, it has to be only a client or a customer or a contractor. Anyone can actually go and raise a change request. So basically output of control cost is a change request related to cost. It's a change request related to cost, and basically changes can be raised to the cost baseline or to basically other components of the cost management plan, and they would be feeded back into the planning processes. So once the change request has been approved by the CCB, once the change request gets approved by the change control board, that can be feeded back to the planning process. It needs to be feeded back because we'll need to revise your cost management plan. It might have an impact on your other plans like schedule, scope, etc. And basically you will have to track this change. You'll have to go about and track this change to closure. Okay. Moving ahead. Other outputs include, as I said, project management plan update. So basically you will have to go about and update the project management plan. So once your change request has been approved, your changes to the cost plan have been approved, you'll have to feed it back to the project management plan or the cost management plan, and you'll have to make the changes, and then again you'll have to track those changes to closure. You'll have to track those changes to closure. Okay, so that is what is project management plan update. Project document updates could be other documents also which get affected by this. So it could be your estimation, it could be your checklist, etc. So all those documents can also get impacted by this change request. So once this change request has been implemented, the other documents related to project management would also get impacted. Those documents would also get impacted. So that is what is a project document update. That is what is your project document update which is getting impacted. And then OPA updates. Now organization process assets, if you remember, I told you, they are nothing but assets which are specific to an organization. For example, any project management plan template unique to your organization, or any estimation template, or any checklist which you have prepared. So basically it might happen that when you're doing monitoring and controlling control cost processes, you might figure out that your checklist needs some additional points, or your estimation template needs some additional fields to be added. So you'll have to go about and update those. You'll have to go about and update the organization process asset. So that is what is OPA updates all about. That is what is OPA updates all about. And more importantly, it also includes any lessons learned. It also includes any lessons learned. So lessons learned is an activity which will have to do it at a continuous interval, and that is also a part of your OPA update. That also is a part and parcel of your OPA. The short form for organization process asset is OPA. Okay, that is what is a OPA, or a organization process asset update. So basically this is a quick recap what we did. So basically we said that control cost is defined as the process of monitoring the status of the project to update the project cost and manage changes to the baseline. We saw what is the earned value management, which is basically a technique which is used to find out the measurement related to the current state of the project. And basically what are the key measurements we saw? We saw what is the planned value, we saw what is the earned value, we saw basically what is the actual cost. So planned value is the amount of work which is planned in the project. The amount of work which is planned in the project, and it can be calculated on a daily basis. And one thing I missed to tell you is that BAC or budget at completion is sigma PV. Budget at completion is nothing but the total planned value of the project. It's nothing but the total planned value of the project. So it's basically sigma of planned value. It's nothing but the sigma of planned value. That is what is the budget at completion. Earned value is the amount of work which you have completed till date. Earned value is the amount of work which you have completed till date. Okay, so that is what is earned value. Okay, so that is what is earned value. So basically that is what is earned value. Okay, so earned value is the value of the work completed to date. Okay, as it compares the budgeted amount, planned value, to the work actually done. Okay, so that is what is earned value. And what is actual cost? Actual cost is the cost incurred on the project. Actual cost is the cost incurred on the project till date. Okay, actual cost is the cost incurred on the project. Okay, so that is what is the actual cost. Okay, so we saw planned value, earned value and actual cost, and then basically we saw those formulas. Cost variance, as we said, is EV minus AC. Cost variance is EV minus AC. It's basically earned value minus actual cost. Okay, earned value minus actual cost. Okay, fine. That is what is earned value. Okay, sorry, cost variance. That is what is cost variance. Okay, schedule variance is basically the difference between earned value and planned value. The difference between earned value and planned value is the schedule variance. That is also what we saw. And basically CPI is EV upon AC, earned value upon actual cost. The ratio of earned value to actual cost is your CPI. The ratio of earned value to actual cost is basically the CPI. Okay, so basically it will tell you how much profit or under recovery you have. And SPI, Aristotle shows you basically the scheduling efficiency, how much ahead or behind you are, which is EV upon PV, earned value upon planned value. So earned value upon planned value is basically the SPI. That is what is SPI, or the schedule performance index. Okay, so we have seen cost variance, schedule variance, CPI and SPI. We have seen cost variance, schedule variance, CPI and SPI. Okay, so that is what we have actually seen. Okay, moving ahead. So we also saw some forecasting techniques like EAC, ETC. Basically those are the forecasting techniques. TCPI. Okay, so TCPI, those are the forecasting techniques. Those are the forecasting techniques we have. So forecasting uses the information gathered to date and estimates the future conditions of performance of the project based on what information is known when the calculation is performed. Okay, so that is what is forecasting. Those are what are your forecasting techniques. Those are basically what are your forecasting techniques. Okay, and last but not the least, we saw what is TCPI. TCPI stands for to complete performance index, and that is basically work remaining upon funds remaining. That is nothing but work remaining upon funds remaining. That ratio actually tells you that how much is the work remaining upon funds remaining, and ideally it should be less than 1. Ideally that ratio should be less than 1. Okay, so basically that is what is a work remaining upon funds remaining, work remaining upon funds remaining. Okay, and ideally it should be less than 1. If it is greater than 1, which means that your work remaining, okay, your project is in a challenge state. Okay, so this is what we covered. Okay, how many of you are planning to go for PMP certification? Yeah, anyone who's planning to go for PMP certification? Okay, see, basically we have a course, online course where we'll be covering all these topics in details. Okay, which is a course which we are launching, and it's a online. It's an online course, 4 hours on a Saturday, Sunday. Okay, so if you are interested in that, you can always join that course. It will definitely help you because we would be covering these courses in detail, and that's the link of the course which has been pinged to you. There's a link of the course which has been pinged to you. You can go there and register for this course. You can go there and register for this course, and it's on an online mode where the faculty would be online and he would be covering through the entire PMBOK, all the 47 processes. Today we have only covered one process, which is control cost. Likewise, there are 47 processes. Okay, and there's all basically, so those of you who are interested can enroll for that course. Believe me, it will be definitely helpful for you. If you are planning to clear PMP exam, this is the course for you. Okay, this is the course for you because we'll be covering all the 47 processes in detail. We'll be covering all the 47 processes in detail. Okay, so basically I would suggest you to join this course. I hope it was an interesting session to all of you. Although it was a short session, I hope it was interesting to all of you. And definitely you have some takeaway which you're carrying from this session. So would expect like if you can just join for the PMP session, that would be really great. It would really help you out for the PMP exam preparation. Yeah, so thanks everyone. Okay, thanks everyone.